So look how 17:2 mentions Moses' name.
Thank you. So that means Moses is a servant of verse 1. Prove me wrong. That's what I'm saying. If you just follow your Quran, you can't tell me the servant is Muhammad. It's most likely Moses because he's mentioned right away. And it's dealing with the Bani Israel, the children of Israel. So prove to me the servant is Muhammad.
Don't try to do the work of shaitan.
What shaitan? You're asking me to show you contradictions. If I'm shaitan...
No, don't play with my brain.
I'm not playing with your brain. You asked for this. So that means you want shaitan to keep you deceived into thinking the Quran is true, whereas we want to try to show you Jesus is the truth, not the Quran. Okay, chapter 17, verse 1 of the Quran. Okay, read for me.
Glory be to the one who took his servant Muhammad by...
Okay, by the way, your translation is adding words. The word Muhammad is not there. The Arabic doesn't say Muhammad. It says, glory be he who took his servant by night. So don't read what's added in parentheses and brackets. That's not in the Arabic. You can see the Arabic. It doesn't say that.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So good. Keep
the word Muhammad is not there. I can identify that.
Yeah, and a lot of other things won't be there that they add to the verse.
Okay. Glory be to the one who took his servant by night from the sacred mosque to the farthest mosque, whose surroundings we have blessed, so that we may show him some of our signs. Indeed, he alone is the all-hearing, all-seeing.
Okay, now, the Quran just said, it's perfectly clear. It explains everything in it, all things in it, perfectly clearly. That's what it said in those verses. Then it contradicted itself. So if the Quran is perfectly clear and explains all things, can you tell me just from the Quran who that servant is? Do you have the answer for that just from the Quran?
Who took his servant?
Yeah, who's the servant? Just from the Quran. Don't give me hadith that explains it or translations that add words and brackets or parentheses.
From the sacred mosque to the farthest mosque, whose surroundings we have blessed, so that we may show him some of our signs. Indeed, he alone is all-hearing, all-seeing.
So, can you show me who the servant is?
This doesn't. This one here doesn't validate your point.
No, you didn't. I didn't finish my point. You didn't answer my question. Who is the servant, and how do you know?
We know the prophet.
Prove it. How do you know that? Where did the Quran say it's the prophet? Why are you reading later hadiths into this? Because when you go to the hadiths, it's going to embarrass you. That's why I'm saying be careful. Don't run to the hadith. So from that verse alone, can you prove to me it's Muhammad?
We can't take a Quran verse in isolation of itself without...
Okay, I'm not taking isolation. I'm reading it in the Quran. Can you show me anything in your 114 chapters of the Quran that explains it? Because you're the one who told me in the comment section on Skype, no hadiths. I have it. Didn't you tell me no hadiths?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm now holding you accountable to your own standard. No hadith, the Quran alone. In the Quran, can you show me that's Muhammad? No,
we know it's Muhammad.
How do you know that? Where did the Quran tell you it's Muhammad? The name Muhammad only appears 4 times in your entire Quran. How do you know it's Muhammad?
No.
How do you know? I'm still waiting for the answer. How do you know? Okay, now, related to the same verse, it says, who took his servant by night from the inviolable mosque to the farthest mosque, Masjid al-Haram, Masjid al-Aqsa. Where is Masjid al-Haram? Can you show me from the Quran where and what is Masjid al-Haram? From the Quran.
It's in Saudi Arabia.
Where did the Quran say Saudi Arabia? Where does that verse say Saudi Arabia?
It doesn't say that, but I know Masjid al-Haram is mentioned.
And where does it tell you Masjid al-Haram is in Arabia? Secondly, what's the farthest mosque? Masjid al-Aqsa. Where is that at?
Jerusalem.
Where did the verse say Jerusalem? Why are you making things up as you go along? Where did that verse say Jerusalem?
Well, this verse doesn't say Jerusalem.
But the Quran told you in those 6 or more verses that you read, and I have a lot more, it explains all things in this book. It's perfectly clear and perfectly clearly explains the verses. How come it fails to explain this verse for you? And it's less than perfectly clear.
But this one, you're taking this verse in isolation of itself.
Okay, give me the context of the Quran. Give me the rest of the verses so I don't take it in isolation. Where in the Quran does it explain this verse? I'm not taking anything in isolation.
No, but you're basically saying that the Quran doesn't explain that, or
Yes,
doesn't
exactly.
reveal that the farthest mosque
Yes, exactly.
is in Jerusalem.
Exactly. It doesn't. That's the truth. And doesn't tell you who the servant is. Maybe it's Moses. How do you know? Because Moses, if you're saying Jerusalem, Moses was in that
But
area.
the Quran mentions the name Muhammad
4 times, and in places where it doesn't assume that every other instance where it says say, or where it says, oh prophet, it's Muhammad. How do you know that?
What? Say that again?
The name Muhammad only appears 4 times, and it's mentioned in certain isolated places scattered throughout the Quran. So how do you know that whenever the Quran says say, O prophet, or the prophet is not harsh with the believers, that's Muhammad? How do you know that? So you keep assuming that every time the Quran says say, that's Muhammad that's being told to say. Or when it says, and the prophet is not harsh, that's Muhammad who's the prophet. Where does the Quran say that this is Muhammad when it mentions the prophet? Or
why does that have to be a criteria?
Because you told me don't go to the Hadith. I'm using your criterion. Do you remember? Did I say not to go to Hadith, or you said it? So without the Hadith, answer those questions. Especially when the Quran says it perfectly, clearly explains everything in the book. I'm going by your criterion. Did you tell me don't use Hadith? Because if I use Hadith, it's going to be more embarrassment, which I will in a minute. But before we go there, who's saying in 17 verse 1, glory be to him? Who's speaking?
Allah.
So Allah is speaking to himself and glorifying himself.
Yeah.
Oh, you're okay with it. So you're okay with Allah saying, glory be to him, instead of saying, glory be to me, who carried my servant by night. So Allah has to speak of himself in the third person?
Yeah, that's how Allah refers to himself.
Okay,
Sam.
well, good. I'm glad you said Allah. But then Allah goes on to say, so that we might show him some of our signs. So Allah is saying, glory be to him, which is me, who carried his servant by night, which is my servant, from the inviolable mosque to the farthest mosque, whose precincts we blessed, so we might show him.
I'll admit, this verse doesn't explain the locations.
No, but that's even more than that. What I'm asking is, why can't Allah simply...
reading that to you. You tried to get me busted with that. I'm saying, yeah, if you're taking this verse in isolation of itself...
Even in the context of the Quran, you're not going to be able to figure out, because there's nothing in the Quran and other verses that tell you what this means.
I have to investigate that.
Keep investigating. But don't forget 2 points. This is the same Quran that told you it is a book that explains all things and is perfectly clear and perfectly clearly explains its verses. Yet it doesn't. But here's the point I want you to focus on, so we can go to another example. Focus on this point with me. Allah is speaking, and Allah says, pay attention. You can see the Arabic, you'll confirm it. Allah is saying to himself, glory be to him, which is actually me, who carried his servant by night, which is my servant, from the inviolable mosque to the farthest mosque. And now notice Allah says, whose precincts we blessed. Now, but pay attention to this part. So that we might show him our signs, ayat. Right? Do you see Allah says we might show him?
Yeah.
Okay, now here's my question. If you're following the Arabic and the English. So he goes, we might show him our signs. He is the seer. Wait, so the one that Allah is showing his signs, Allah just says about him, the one that he showed his miracles to, he, the one we showed our signs to, he's the seer, the knower? Who's that?
Yeah, I figured, I had a feeling you might bring that up.
Okay, then address it.
But that's ambiguous.
Yeah, but my point is, Allah says we might show him our miracles.
Because See, this wouldn't be a contradiction. I can agree it doesn't specify.
How's it
locations.
not a contradiction? Because if Allah is saying we showed him our miracles,
we may show him
who's
our
the him?
signs.
Yeah, who's the him? Who is Allah showing his miracles to?
Indeed, He alone is the all-hearing, all-knowing.
Who's the him and the he? So Allah showed him.
So Allah speaking, saying we,
showed,
and then saying He.
Yeah, but my point is, the he is the him. We might show him. You keep forgetting that, our signs. If that's Allah, why would Allah need Allah to show him miracles? Allah showing himself miracles?
You know what? Hold on.
Yeah, exactly. Hold on.
Let me see if I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
What I gather from what you're saying is that it says, so that we, that being Allah, referring to himself.
Yeah. We may
show him our signs. And the claim is, indeed, He alone is all-seeing.
Yeah.
All hearing, all seeing.
And who's the
but
he?
You're saying, why would Allah, after just saying we, say He?
No, it's more than that. Allah says we showed him our signs, and then speaking of him, he says he, the him that we showed our signs to, he is the all-seeing, the all-knowing. Who's the he and the him?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
If they want, that's the point I'm getting at.
Okay, so who's the he and the him?
The claim is that Allah is the all-hearing, all-seeing. So why would He say He?
No, it's not only that. Why would
instead of saying indeed I am the all-knowing, or indeed we are the all-knowing?
Take a break. Take a break.
He.
Jihad.
So you're trying to say that Allah is saying that Muhammad is the all-hearing, all-seeing.
Yeah. So
is that what you're trying to say?
Well, I'm trying to say it. Let's see if you got it. The him and the he are the same. The one, it says, showed him our signs, is the he who's the all-hearer and the all-knower. They don't change. It's the same him and he. So if you tell me Allah is the one that Allah just said, He is the seer.
That's what I just said.
Okay, I know. But be patient for the love of your Allah. Astaghfirullah. Be patient. If Allah is the one that Allah said, He is the seer and the knower, then that means the we showed Allah miracles. So why would Allah need to be shown miracles from Himself? And if you say Muhammad, it's even worse. Because if it's Muhammad, we showed him Muhammad.
We may show him our signs.
And
Allah is showing the Prophet.
Oh, but then you just destroyed it.
Our signs.
Okay, but then finish it. The he is the seer and the knower.
He is the all-hearing, all-seeing.
That's Muhammad. You just said it's Muhammad. The him and the he don't change. It's the same one.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, so is Muhammad all-hearing? Do you believe Muhammad? Is Muhammad all-hearing, all-seeing?
No. So the all-hearing, all-seeing refers to Allah.
So
that's
then
why Allah, with the he.
Allah is the one that was shown miracles. So now you're stuck. You can't change it. Because it's the same him and he in the same sentence. It doesn't change. Him we showed our signs. He is the seer. So it's the same entity. So who is it? We're still trying to figure it out. If it's Muhammad, then Muhammad is all-seeing. If it's Allah, then Allah is being shown miracles.
You're claiming that this last sentence means that that it's referring to Muhammad alayhi salam.
If it's Muhammad, then Muhammad is the seer and the knower. So you made him God. You made him an ilah. It doesn't change. The him who saw the signs is the he who's the hear and seer. They don't change. It's the same him and he. So who is it? We're still trying to figure it out. Help me out. Who is it? If it's Allah, then Allah is being shown miracles by someone. Why would Allah need to be?
Yeah, because He said we showed him.
Him.
So so if why wouldn't He say indeed we are the all-hearing, all-knowing?
Thank you. You got it. So the him and the he is the same person. If it's Muhammad, then Muhammad is all-seeing. If it's Allah, then Allah is being shown miracles by someone else.
I have to ask the Sheikh about this. Right. So this is 17:1.
Yep. Now, if you go outside the Hadith, you got a problem. If you go outside,
nobody has answers for this kind of stuff. I can't ask this,
my friend. I've been doing it for years, and I've yet to find a Muslim to refute it. And I'm talking about Muslims online who, for years, try to refute this. So you can think that I'm lying. It's there. The arguments are there, and I've still yet to find a Muslim to respond to this because they can't. You just can't. These are just facts. But let's use the Hadith. You want to go outside the Hadith for the answer? I'm sorry, outside the Quran for the answer? Not outside the Hadith. If we abandon now just the Quran and go to the Hadith or your commentators like Ibn Kathir, you know how they explain it?
So look how 17:2 mentions Moses' name.
Thank you. So that means Moses is a servant of verse 1. Prove me wrong. That's what I'm saying. If you just follow your Quran, you can't tell me the servant is Muhammad. It's most likely Moses because he's mentioned right away. And it's dealing with the Bani Israel, the children of Israel. So prove to me the servant is Muhammad.
Don't try to do the work of shaitan.
What shaitan? You're asking me to show you contradictions. If I'm shaitan,
no, don't play with my brain.
I'm not playing with your brain. You asked for this. So that means you want shaitan to keep you deceived into thinking the Quran is true, whereas we want to try to show you Jesus is the truth, not the Quran. But let's not go there. First, let's finish the point. Do you want to go outside of the Quran and go to the Hadith to explain this? We can do that. You want me to show you
the Hadith or the Tafsir?
Oh, either one, because the Tafsir is quoting the Hadith, like Ibn Kathir. According to Ibn Kathir, you know what this is referring to?
I told you Tafsir is fine. I said no Hadith.
Ibn Kathir tells you that this is referring to Muhammad when he was taken from the Kaaba to Bayt al-Maqdis. Bayt al-Maqdis, meaning, and it's also called Bayt al-Muqaddas. Bayt al-Maqdis, Bayt al-Muqaddas, the temple in Jerusalem. So Ibn Kathir says, and all the commentators, not only him, this is when in Medina, your prophet was taken from the Kaaba, Masjid al-Haram, to Masjid al-Aqsa, which is Bayt al-Muqaddas, Bayt al-Maqdis in Jerusalem, the temple in Jerusalem, right?
Yeah.
Problem is there was no temple in Jerusalem. The temple was destroyed twice. The first temple was destroyed 586 years before the birth of Jesus. The second temple was destroyed in 70 AD, 40 years after Jesus went to heaven. So what temple did he go? There was no temple. So that's why I say if we go to your commentators, it's going to get worse for you.
70 AD?
Yep. There was no temple when Muhammad supposedly went to Jerusalem, because Ibn Kathir says he went to Jerusalem on Buraq with Gabriel, and he tied Buraq to the door, entered into the temple, and led the prophets in prayer. There was no temple for him to enter. And then the mosque that's now known as Masjid al-Aqsa, the Masjid al-Aqsa that you now can visit in Jerusalem, that was built by Abdul Malik around 691 AD, about 6 years after your prophet died. So what temple did he visit? What temple? So this is why I say if you go outside the Quran, you got problems.
40 years after Jesus, you said 70 AD.
Yeah, that's 40 years after Jesus went to heaven, 70 years after he was born.
Oh, okay, I see.
Okay. There was no temple, there was no masjid, no mosque in Jerusalem when your prophet was in Mecca and supposedly traveled there. And the mosque that's now known as Masjid al-Aqsa, that was built by Abdul Malik around 691 AD, if my memory doesn't fail me. And I'm pretty certain that's the date. So what mosque did he visit?
But do you have evidence of that?
Yeah, Ibn Kathir tells me that he went to the temple, he went inside the temple, and he prayed with the prophets, and all the commentators say that. Ibn Ishaq, there is no temple. This is just a fact of history. When Omar ibn al-Khattab conquered Jerusalem, the site of the temple where it stood was a waste dump. That's where they dumped their garbage, and he had to clean it out.
That's a fact of history?
That's according to your history. Didn't Omar conquer Jerusalem?
Yeah.
Okay. When he went to the Temple Mount, where the temple used to stand, he found it as the waste dump, where they would dump their garbage. So there was no temple standing there. What mosque did he visit?
Oh, what's the name? That's called the Temple Mount?
Yeah, the mount meaning where the temple stood.
What is the official name of it so I can check the historical
Well,
record?
it's called the temple. And in Islamic sources, the temple is called Baytul Muqaddas or Baytul Maqdas. Baytul Muqaddas. But the term Masjid al-Aqsa that appears in that verse, that's the term now used for Masjid al-Aqsa in Jerusalem.
Beit al-Maqdas is now used for Al-Aqsa Mosque?
No, that's used for the Temple of Solomon, the temple that was standing at the time of Solomon, which was destroyed in 586.
Mount or Temple of Solomon?
Temple. It doesn't say mount, it says masjid, like Masjid al-Haram, Masjid
So
al-Aqsa.
what do you guys call it?
What do we call it? The temple. We don't call it masjid. Masjid
Temple of
is,
Solomon.
yes, and that was destroyed.
Suleiman.
It was destroyed in 586.
Suleiman.
Yeah, say it 3 more times. We didn't get it the first 2 times. Yes, Suleiman, and it was destroyed in 586 BC, 586 years before the birth of Jesus Christ. And then it was rebuilt, and the second temple was then destroyed in 70 AD, 40 years after Jesus went to heaven.
Wallahi, I will check it. We'll check it.
Yep, as I said, it was initially built in 691, Masjid al-Aqsa, and it was finished around 705. So you get the point?
I get the point that you're trying to make. I just have to check it.
Yep.
Aqsa was built in 691.
And then it was completely finished by the year 705. So the question is, what Masjid al-Aqsa did Muhammad visit when this supposedly took place in Mecca? And
are you talking about when he went on
yeah, exactly. That's what the Muslims say. Yeah.
Mi'raj?
Yes. Do you want me to give you Ibn Kathir? You keep asking, like you said. Ibn Kathir. Say it again. Yes, when he went to Jerusalem on Buraq with Gabriel, and it says that he went to the temple. He even tied Buraq to the door there, entered in it, and led the prophets in prayer. What temple he entered? There was no temple for him to enter. 610. He began the call to the Meccans to Islam, because supposedly at 610, Jibril said, you're a messenger and prophet. From 610 to 623 AD, he's in Mecca, 13 years. There is no temple or mosque in Jerusalem in 610, 623 AD, because the temple
Islamic sources, it refers to the entire area where the
that's not the words.
Mosque compound
Okay, let's
is
try this
situated.
again, Jihad. I know you're trying hard. The word masjid is used twice in the ayah. It's Masjid al-Haram, Masjid al-Aqsa. I challenge you to show me where the word masjid in the Quran.
Not Masjid al-Aqsa.
Let's try this again. Masjid al-Haram, it's there in your ayah. Took him from Masjid al-Haram to Masjid al-Aqsa. It's there twice. No one denies that Masjid al-Haram is an actual building. It's the Kaaba. So now prove to me that when it says he went from one masjid to another, when it says Masjid al-Aqsa, that doesn't mean a building anymore. Change the definition for me, please.
Masjid al-Aqsa.
From Masjid al-Haram. So the word masjid appears twice. The first time, no one's going to deny it's a building, it's the Kaaba. So then prove to me then, when it then says Masjid al-Aqsa, that's not a building anymore. Now you're going to reinterpret the word.
It's a building.
Okay, but there was no building in Jerusalem. This is the point we've been stuck on for the past 10 minutes.
But there was no other building?
None. No building, no place of worship that the prophets went to and fastened their animals to.
And this is supposedly referring to Beit al-Muqaddas?
Well, that's what you wanted me to show you from the commentators. So you want to ignore? So forget the commentators and stick with the Quran, right?
Okay, I see. I will check it.
All right.